A BMW mechanic got fired for posting this. A Mercedes dealer group sent a cease and desist to a German forum for hosting it. A retired Porsche technician said it best: "If owners followed these rules, our service revenue collapses 40%. These cars aren't money pits. That's not an engineering problem, it's a maintenance problem. American owners, European engineering, wrong intervals, the BMW M54, the Mercedes M606, the Porsche 996 Flat 6, all documented past 400,000 miles. In Germany, on the Autobahn. Here's the exact framework. But rule number 7, the one that prevents the most common $4,800 repair on every German car built after 1995, comes after you understand what's killing these engines first. BMW introduced CBS, condition-based service, in the early 2000s. The system monitors driving patterns and tells you when to change your oil. On a new BMW, that interval can stretch to 15,000 miles or beyond. Mercedes followed with their assist system. Audi with their service interval indicators. All of them will happily tell you your oil is fine at 12,000, 13,000, 14,000 miles. Here is what the system does not tell you. CBS was designed and calibrated for European driving conditions, sustained high-speed Autobahn cruising at 130 kilometers per hour where the engine runs at steady temperature, oil circulates constantly, and combustion byproducts burn off cleanly. It was not calibrated for American urban driving. Short trips, frequent cold starts, stop and go traffic. City driving where the engine never fully reaches operating temperature and condensation. Fuel dilution and combustion acids accumulate in the oil faster than the CBS algorithm accounts for. A retired BMW factory engineer, who now runs an independent shop in Munich, stated in a 2019 interview with the German automotive publication Automotor und Sport, the CBS system is a customer satisfaction tool as much as it is an engineering tool. Extended intervals reduce customer contact with service costs. The engine does not necessarily agree. Every German car specialist with a long-haul client base owners running 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 miles follows the same rule regardless of what the dashboard says. Change full synthetic oil every 5,000 miles. Non-negotiable. No exceptions. Use the correct factory-specified viscosity, 0W30 or 0W40, LL01 spec for BMW, MB 229.5 or 229. 51 spec for Mercedes because German engines have tighter bearing tolerances than American or Japanese engines, and the wrong viscosity at cold start is where the damage happens. The first 30 seconds after a cold start, before oil pressure fully builds, account for more cumulative engine wear than the next 5,000 miles of driving combined. 5,000-mile intervals. Correct spec oil. Every time. This single rule, applied consistently from the day you buy the car, is worth more to long-term reliability than every other modification and upgrade combined. German engines, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, Volkswagen use silicate-free OAT or HOT coolant specifically formulated for aluminum engine blocks, aluminum cylinder heads, and the magnesium components used extensively in German engine architecture. The corrosion inhibitors in this coolant degrade over time, not from heat, not from miles, from time, from electrochemical depletion. After approximately 3 years, regardless of mileage, the inhibitor package in your coolant has partially broken down, and the fluid is now slowly attacking the aluminum surfaces it was designed to protect. Your coolant reservoir will look perfectly clean. It will be the right color. The temperature gauge will read normal. You will have no indication anything is wrong. And the aluminum water pump housing, the aluminum thermostat housing, the aluminum coolant pipes, and the aluminum head gasket surfaces will be experiencing microscopic corrosion that accumulates over years into the $3,400 cooling system failure you will eventually be told just happens on German cars. It does not just happen. It happens because the coolant was not changed on schedule. Every 3 years, regardless of mileage. Use only the manufacturer-specified coolant. BMW Blue, Mercedes Pink, Audi, VWG 13 purple, never mix types. Never use universal green coolant from an auto parts store. And always distill the water you mix it with. Tap water contains minerals that react with the silicate-free formulation and accelerate the exact corrosion you are trying to prevent. Distilled water costs $1.29 per gallon. A new water pump, thermostat housing, and coolant pipe replacement on a BMW N52 costs $1,800 in parts and labor. The math is not complicated. Mercedes, BMW, and Audi all introduced lifetime fill automatic transmissions, beginning in the late 1990s and continuing through the 2010s. The marketing position was simple and powerful. This transmission fluid never needs to be changed. It is a lifetime fluid. The ZF 5 HP and 6 HP series transmissions in BMWs and Audis, the Mercedes 722.6 and 7G, Tronic units, all marketed as sealed for life. Here is what lifetime means in this context. The engineers who designed the lifetime fill specification defined the service life of the transmission as 10 years or 100,000 miles, after which the vehicle was considered to be at end of useful life for engineering purposes. The fluid lasts the lifetime of the transmission as they defined lifetime, not as you define lifetime. If you intend to drive the car to 300,000 miles, automatic transmission fluid in a German gearbox operating in normal conditions is dark brown and showing measurable contamination by 60,000 to 80,000 miles. The fluid has not failed catastrophically. The clutch packs are not slipping. The shifts still feel normal, but the fluid's friction modifiers the additives that allow the clutch packs to engage smoothly and protect the valve body solenoids have depleted to the point where continued use accelerates clutch pack wear with every shift cycle. A ZF 8 HP automatic transmission rebuild on a BMW 5 Series costs $4,200 to $5,800 at an independent shop, more at a dealer. A transmission fluid service drain, filter where accessible costs $180 to $350. Every independent German transmission specialist who services high-mileage cars recommends the first fluid change at 60,000 miles and every 40,000 miles thereafter. Every one of them, without exception. The dealers who tell you the fluid is lifetime are the same dealers who will quote you $5,200 for the rebuild when the transmission fails at 130,000 miles. BMW in 52, in 54, in 55 engines, Audi and Volkswagen EA888 engines, Mercedes M272 and M273, V6 and V8 engines. All of these use individual ignition coils, one per cylinder, that degrade gradually and unevenly. The factory replacement interval on most of these platforms is 60,000 miles for spark plugs. The coils have no specified replacement interval because they are classified as replace on failure. Here is the problem with replacing on failure. When an ignition coil fails on a German engine, the cylinder misfires. The misfire is detected by the ECU, which correctly pulls timing and reduces fuel delivery to protect the catalytic converter. What the ECU cannot fully prevent is the unburned fuel that enters the exhaust stream before the misfire code triggers the protection response. That unburned fuel saturates the catalytic converter. On a BMW 5 Series, a catalytic converter replacement is $2,200 to $3,400 depending on which bank fails. On a Mercedes E-Class 5.8, it is $4,800 for the pair. Every high-mileage German car specialist recommends replacing all ignition coils at 80,000 miles as a set, with the spark plugs, regardless of whether any coil has shown symptoms. The cost difference between replacing one failed coil reactively and replacing all coils proactively is approximately $180. The cost difference between replacing all coils proactively and replacing a catalytic converter reactively is $2,900. You are buying $180 of insurance against a $3,000 bill. Direct injection engines, which includes the BMW N54, N55, B46, B48, B58, the Audi and Volkswagen TSI and TFSI engines, and the Mercedes CGI and direct injection units spray fuel directly into the combustion chamber rather than into the intake port. This is more efficient and produces more power per displacement. It also means that the intake valves, which in port injection engines are constantly bathed in fuel that keeps them clean, now receive nothing but air and crankcase vapors from the PCV system. Those crankcase vapors contain oil mist. That oil mist coats the back of the intake valves. Over 60,000 to 80,000 miles. That coating builds into hard carbon deposits 3 to 5 millimeters thick on some valves that disrupt airflow into the cylinder, cause rough idle, reduce power, increase fuel consumption, and, in severe cases, prevent the valves from sealing completely. The repair requires removing the intake manifold and using walnut shell media blasted through the intake ports under pressure to abrade the carbon deposits off the valve faces. On a BMW Inline 6, this service costs $400 to $600 at an independent shop and takes 3 to 4 hours. Neglected past 100,000 miles. The carbon buildup severe enough to cause misfires and power loss. Requires the same service, but with more time, and sometimes valve lapping to restore. Sealing $900 to $1,400. On a 4-cylinder turbocharged Audi or Volkswagen, the service is similar in cost. It needs to be done at 60,000 miles, and every 40,000 to 50,000 miles thereafter on any direct injection German engine. No dealership service advisor will bring this up proactively. It is not in the factory scheduled maintenance guide. It is in the institutional knowledge of every independent German car specialist who regularly sees direct injection engines at 150,000 miles and beyond. German engineers over-engineer metal components. The engines themselves, the transmissions, the differentials, the hard parts on a properly maintained German car will genuinely outlast the car's body. What German engineers have historically underspecified is rubber. Gaskets, seals, hoses, bushings, mounts the rubber and polymer components that connect and seal the hard parts. The BMW M54 and M56 engines are famous for this. The valve cover gasket, the valve cover grommet set, the oil filter housing gasket, the rear main seal, the DISA valve, O-ring. These rubber components have a service life of approximately 80,000 to 100,000 miles under normal conditions. When they fail by leaking oil. Slowly at first, then faster. The engine itself is fine. The seals around it are not. The mistake owners make is treating each seal failure as an individual event, replacing the valve cover gasket when it leaks, replacing the oil filter housing gasket when that leaks, replacing the rear main seal when that starts showing. Each job individually requires partial disassembly of engine components. If you do all 3 jobs simultaneously during a planned rubber refresh at 90,000 miles, you pay for the disassembly once. If you do them sequentially as each one fails over 30,000 miles, you pay for disassembly 3 times. At 90,000 miles on any BMW built between 1999 and 2015, any Mercedes built between 2000 and 2012, any Audi V6 or V8 from the same era plan a rubber refresh. Valve cover gaskets, camshaft position sensor O-rings, oil filter housing gasket, coolant hoses, vacuum lines. Do them together. Budget $600 to $900 in parts and labor at an independent shop. Do them separately as they fail and you will spend $1,800 to $2,400 over the same period. Plus the inevitable low oil situation you drive into because the slow leak you hadn't noticed yet became a fast leak on the highway. The weak point on German engines is not the engine, it is the plastic. Starting in the mid-1990s, German manufacturers began using reinforced plastic for thermostat housings, coolant expansion tanks, coolant pipe connectors, water pump housings, and radiator end tanks. Not because plastic is better than aluminum for these applications, because plastic is cheaper, lighter, and adequate for the design service life of the vehicle. Adequate means 100,000 to 120,000 miles under normal thermal cycling conditions, before the plastic becomes brittle from repeated heat expansion and contraction, before the nylon fiber reinforcement begins to break down, before the O-ring seats in the plastic fittings lose their ability to hold pressure. When a plastic coolant component fails on a German car, it does not leak slowly. It cracks. It fractures. In seconds, your coolant is on the road. your temperature gauge is at maximum, and your aluminum engine is experiencing thermal stress that it will not survive unscathed if you do not pull over immediately. If you do pull over immediately and catch it in time, you are looking at $400 to $800 to replace the failed plastic component. If you do not catch it in time, if the temperature warning is ignored for even 3 to 4 minutes of continued driving, you are looking at a warped cylinder head, a blown head gasket, or, in severe cases, a cracked block. $4,800 to $11,000. The preventive intervention is simple. At 80,000 miles, regardless of condition, replace the thermostat and thermostat housing as an assembly, the coolant expansion tank, the radiator, if it has plastic end tanks, and any plastic coolant pipe connectors you can access. On a BMW E46 or E90, the thermostat housing and thermostat together cost $85 in parts. The coolant expansion tank is $45. An independent shop does the full refresh for $380 in labor. You have just eliminated the most statistically common $4,800 to $6,200 repair on that platform before it has any opportunity to happen. Every German car specialist who maintains vehicles past 200,000 miles proactively replaces plastic cooling system components at 80,000 miles. Every one, without exception. The dealers who do not tell you this are the dealers who will be replacing your cylinder head when the thermostat housing cracks at 110,000 miles. BMW X-Drive, Audi Quattro, Mercedes Quattromatic. Every all-wheel drive German car has a transfer case, a front differential, and a rear differential. Every one of those units contains gear oil that degrades over time and mileage. None of them have a factory-specified change interval. All of them benefit enormously from a fluid change at 60,000 miles and every 60,000 miles thereafter. BMW X-Drive transfer cases, the VTG units on the X3, X5, and all-wheel drive 3 and 5 series are known to develop harsh engagement and shudder when the transfer case fluid breaks down past 80,000 miles. The fluid service costs $120 at an independent shop and eliminates the shudder completely in most cases. Transfer case replacement costs $2,800 to $4,200. The fluid service that prevents it costs $120. Audi Quattro rear differentials, particularly on the S and RS models, show premature wear when the differential fluid is not changed by 60,000 miles. A rear differential rebuild on an Audi S4 costs $1,800 to $2,600. The fluid change is $95. Mercedes 4MATIC transfer cases develop similar issues when fluid is neglected. Same economics, same outcome difference. This service is almost never offered proactively at a dealership. It is not in the factory maintenance schedule. It is in the institutional knowledge of every independent shop that sees these vehicles at 150,000 miles and beyond, and the long-haul cars, the ones at 300,000 and 400,000 miles, always have documentation of regular differential and transfer case fluid changes in their service history. Always. Find an independent German car specialist before your car needs one. Not after the warning light comes on, not after the noise starts, before. There are 2 categories of independent German car shops in every major American city. The first is the former dealership technician who left the flat rate system, opened his own shop, and brings 20 years of model-specific knowledge to every car that comes through the door. The second is a general independent shop that works on everything and uses the same generic approach on your BMW that they use on a Toyota Camry. The difference in outcomes between those 2 shops over the life of a German car is measured in thousands of dollars and hundreds of thousands of miles. A model-specific specialist knows that the BMW N54 needs the high-pressure fuel pump upgraded before 80,000 miles because the factory unit has a documented failure rate. He knows that the Mercedes OM 642 V6 diesel requires a specific EGR cleaning procedure at 100,000 miles, or the intake manifold swirl flaps will fail and deposit debris into the engine. He knows which Audi timing chains need replacement at 100,000 miles and which ones will run to 200,000. He has seen 40 examples of every failure mode on your specific platform. The dealership has seen every platform and every failure mode, but the service advisor's job is to sell you the repair after it has already happened, not to help you prevent it. The flat rate technician's incentive is speed, not thoroughness. The specialized independent shop's entire business model is built on clients who come back for 300,000 miles because the car keeps running. Find the specialist. Build the relationship before you need it. Bring them this list. Ask which of these rules they recommend for your specific engine code and model year. A good specialist will add 3 more rules specific to your platform that I haven't covered here. A mediocre one will tell you the factory maintenance schedule is sufficient. The factory maintenance schedule was designed to keep the car running through the warranty period and the first owner's typical ownership cycle of 5 to 7 years and 75,000 miles. It was not designed for 500,000 miles. That number requires a different approach. Now you have it. Hit subscribe because next week we are covering the specific engine codes in the BMW, Mercedes, and Audi lineup that will genuinely run to 500,000 miles with this protocol versus the ones with documented terminal engineering flaws that no amount of maintenance will fully overcome, and that information will save you from buying the wrong car in the first place.